Welcome back to Tales of the 39. I've been gone for a little bit, but I'm back with 39 years worth of Dungeons & Dragons stories from a campaign that's been going steadily for 39 years, because apparently I had no life. But today's story comes from the time period that first edition had changed into second edition. So that's kind of important to kind of understand what was happening. So what happened in D&D when a ninja and a wizard became permanently death-linked? So, what is death-linking and stuff? We'll get to that. The thumbnail for this video, is kind of obviously AI-generated, and, AI doesn't do hands very well. And so the wizard and the ninja's hands are kind of molded together, and I thought, well, that's perfect. Normally I'd be, okay, got to redo this picture, but no, actually, that's actually kind of thematic, so we kept it. What's really weird is that the wizard actually looks like the guy who played the wizard. And I mean, I could kind of say that about the ninja, but it'd only be about the eyes. But anyway, so it all starts, or the explanation all starts with Wands of Wonder. We all know about Wands of Wonder in D&D, for people who like chaos and randomness and stuff like that. A Wand of Wonder is kind of a favorite thing. Well, back in the day, I was, just a young dungeon master coming out of high school, entering college and stuff like that. And I noticed that, well, in the game shop's basement, in the brick and mortar store that had the basement that I grew up gaming in, there were people that would show off, many people, how they had the Wand of Wonder table memorized. So for instance, and they'd show off. Yeah, they would hand somebody a first edition Dungeon Master's guide, and they would say, hey, quiz me, or maybe a second edition, because there was also a table in second edition. But I've got a first edition one open in front of me right here for the video. So for instance, they'd have somebody, roll percent. Oh, 66. Oh, that's, diminish the wand wielder to 1 inch in height. Or, 48. A stream of 600 large butterflies pour forth and flutter for 2 rounds, blinding everyone, including the wielder. And then, of course, they had the lightning bolt number memorized and the fireball number memorized. And so these people, they had the Wand of Wonder table memorized, and I'm like, that's not really random. Okay, to me, that just messed with the whole spirit of what the Wand of Wonder was all about. It's supposed to be chaos magic. It's supposed to be wild. It's supposed to be random, and if it's this table you can memorize, that's not really random. So I devised a solution for my table. And, these days, with the slang that's around D&D these days, they'd call it homebrew, and I hate that word, and I always preach against it, so I'm going to take a little moment to preach against it now, because homebrew makes it sound like moonshine during the Prohibition days or something illicit, or something, no, it's modding. A friend of mine named Ron Watson, he calls it modding just because he's a big video gamer as well as a D&D player. And he's like, he noticed one time in the world of D&D tabletop and stuff, they call it homebrew. But the very same thing done in the video game world is called modding. And modders are highly respected and stuff. So, yeah, what DMs do with their D&D games is not homebrewing, it's modding. But anyway, sometimes I'll say homebrew because I want people to understand what I mean. So I came up with a solution for the Wand of Wonder. I wanted that what people did with the Wand of Wonder to be truly random. So what I would do is I would roll a die, and if it was in the bottom half of the die, so like on a D6, it'd be 1 to 3, or the top half of the die would be 4 to 6, whatever. It would be either an arcane effect or a divine effect. And then I would roll to see if it was what level the effect would be. So there's 9 levels of mage spells. So if it was an arcane effect, I'd roll a d10 and just roll it again if it was a 10. It's like, oh, okay, so it's a 7th column, 7th level mage spell. And then I'd roll the 7th level mage spells just to come up with a random, oh, prismatic spray, Well, prismatic spray isn't on the Wand of Wonder table. No, I don't use the Wand of Wonder table because I want the Wand of Wonder to actually be a Wand of Wonder. I roll where it could be anything, it's a divine spell. Okay, so we roll a 3. It's going to be third level or third column. Let's look here. Oh, cure disease. So whatever diseases the person that you pointed the wand at are now cured. And so that's kind of what I was doing with random effects. Well, one day when, 2nd edition had happened, there was an in-universe event called the Time of Troubles that was written by TSR, the company that had D&D at the time. And that in-universe event was supposed to, explain why the universe didn't work like 1st edition rules anymore and why it worked like 2nd edition rules. And they've actually done this for every edition of the game. To change it from 1st to 2nd was Time of Troubles. To change it from 2nd to 3rd was Vecna invading Sigil. To change it from 3rd to 4th was the Spell Plague, and to change it from 4th to 5th was the Sundering. So it really reminds me a whole lot of DC and Marvel Comics, where every time there's a new editorial regime and they just want to change, their universe or their multiverse and reboot it from scratch, they just have another Crisis if they're DC, or they just have another Secret War if they're Marvel. So the Forgotten Realms has just been beaten up horribly because every time that TSR, Wizards of the Coast, or whoever has D&D at the time wants to change editions, they have some great cataclysmic event. So that is how D&D is a lot like comics. Well, in the Time of Troubles, because of that event that changed 1st edition to 2nd edition, Mystra's Weave. So if you're not into Forgotten Realms lore, Mystra's the goddess of magic, and arcane magic in Forgotten Realms is her weave. And her weave had been shredded in the Time of Troubles. And some of the shredded places were magic dead zones, where magic just didn't work at all. And some of the shredded places were wild magic zones, where magic was all chaos and strange, and anything could happen if you tried to use magic in that zone. Kind of like a Wand of Wonder. So I used my Wand of Wonder effects in the wild magic zones. And if you're listening to this at a time when there's an open spot at our table and you want to join our table, which right now as I record this is Thursday nights at 6:30 p.m. on Central Time. If there's any wild chaotic magic effects, that's how I roll them. That's how I handle them for my homebrew or my modding. So the group was in a wild magic zone. And somebody tossed a spell. And I don't think he knew it was a wild magic zone. Either that, or they knew it was a wild magic zone and they just thought they'd take the risk of casting the spell. So, I rolled to see if there was a wild surge or if it went off normally. Because there's still a chance the spell can go off normally. So I rolled to see if it was a wild surge or the spell would go off normally. Nope, spell didn't go off normally. It was a wild surge. And then I rolled to see if it was divine or arcane. It was arcane. And then I rolled which book I was going to use. There were a lot of books because when 2nd edition first came out, TSR was crazy. They were coming out with like the number of books in a month that they used to put out in a year. It was crazy. It's part of what destroyed them. But too much product, too many worlds. There was a 2nd edition Forgotten Realms hardback at the time that had a lot of really cool spells. And I rolled one randomly, and it was called DEATHLINKED. And DEATHLINKED, as written in the spell, would time out. Like, it had a duration. Like, it would be over. It would time out. But I thought as the DM, with some creative DM fudgery, because it is actually a wild magic zone where anything could happen, I thought, what if it was permanent? I mean, it could be wished away or maybe dispelled or something like that. But like, like what if it was like permanent? Like it wouldn't just time out on its own. And so I'll explain what Deathlink is from in a minute. But like, so I rolled for a random person for the caster to be Deathlinked to. And the person that the caster was Deathlinked to was a were-rat. Like, he was a player character, he'd been with the group for a long time, and he had, over the course of play, become a were-rat. And, second edition had just come out. And second edition really leaned into the flavor of like lycanthropes and vampires and supernatural creatures that just didn't take damage from non-magical weapons, or what we'd call muggle weapons, if we're Harry Potter fans. And in the second edition Monsters Compendium, it said it would be much more flavorful and much more thematic if, instead of, if somebody with a non-magical muggle sword goes up to a vampire and tries to hit the vampire with their sword, and they hit the vampire's armor class, rather than just having the sword kind of go tink, tink, tink on the vampire as if it was like bullets on Superman's chest or something, it would be much more thematic if the sword actually did kind of hurt the vampire, but then the wound just healed instantly because it didn't come from a magical source. It'd be much more scary and spooky and thematic and supernatural if wounds from non-magical weapons just healed instantly. And instead of just, going tink, tink, tink. Oh, you stabbed him, but it wasn't a +1 dagger or a silver dagger. It was just a regular old muggle dagger. So, tink, 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 like bullets off Superman's chest. Well, no. The dagger sinks into him, but when you pull the dagger out, there's no arterial spurting or anything, and the wound just closes itself right on up. And it was much more fun to describe as the DM. Players got into it a lot more. And so what Deathlink is, if you are Deathlinked to someone, as per how that spell was written in an old second edition Forgotten Realms hardback, whatever does damage to you does damage to the person you're Deathlinked to. If you take 6 points of damage from an arrow shot, then an identical wound, even though there's no arrow, will appear on the person you've been Deathlinked to. And the same thing goes for them for you. But also, what heals you heals them, and what heals them heals you. So if a cleric heals that person that has the arrow wound, although there was no arrow because it came through the Deathlink from you, if a cleric heals that person, then you'll get healed the same amount of healing. So like if the cleric rolled 6 points of healing, then you'll get 6 points of healing. So since this human mage, this human wizard, was Deathlinked to a lycanthrope, and I was running lycanthropes with the second edition flavor that they had emphasized in the second edition Monsters Compendium, that wounds on lycanthropes heal instantly if they don't come from magic or silver or something like that, then those two guys were pretty. They convinced me to let them have a hit point pool, and they sat together at the table. And they were like the Ninja Brothers. So and eventually the otaku Asian flavored ninja character took his white Euro magician back to the east and introduced him to the clan and said, look, we're brothers, and demonstrated how when you wound one, you wound the other. And so the ninja clan in the little knockoff Japan area on the Forgotten Realms map, Kozakura, they adopted like the Caucasian white guy from Faerun into the clan, because it's like, well, obviously you are mystically brothers somehow. Welcome to the clan. And so they became like they became like the immortal Ninja Brothers. And that happened from this. Just some of the things that can happen in an ongoing campaign, where I think the original Were-Rat Ninja was rolled up like 2 years before in real time, and the regular like European D&D wizard had been rolled up like a year before in real time. And then so like a year later after the wizard was rolled up, and 2 years later after the Were-Rat Ninja was rolled up, and he wasn't originally started as a Were-Rat, he became one through play. So all of these different events, unforeseen events, come together. Then they end up in a wild magic zone, and then I randomly rolled Deathlink, and so yeah, all of these things just come together in strange, unpredictable ways when your D&D campaign just goes on and on and on and on for 39 years. So that's the story of the Immortal Ninja Brothers. So we will see you next time on Tales of the 39. Normally I'd promote a bunch of stuff right now, but like this video is probably so long at this point because this story took so much explaining that we'll just catch you next time for Tales of the 39. Stories of 39 years of D&D.